seemed pretty competitive down here. That was Vaughn that was imitating 12, right?
Diamant, yeah.
Diamant, yeah. How's things been going with that, and what's the attitude been like? It seemed a little more intense.
I didn't think it was any more intense than what it's been. It's been pretty good. Obviously trying to replicate guys like Diamant, who I think last year went for like an 80-yard touchdown on Ohio State, I think it was. Those guys are hard to replicate in practice, but our quarterbacks are doing a nice job. We put Vaughn over there to do some things as a high school quarterback. He's got good mobility, but I think overall it's been good. Practice has been really good.
James, Tracy's had a lot of success this year. Who do you think has made him so?
I think, as you guys know, I'm going to attribute everything that we've done well on offense to the offensive line. The fact that we're able to establish a running game and get people to commit to the box, and obviously Saquon's got a big part of that, but it opens all those things up. It opens up opportunities down the field when people are concerned about stopping Saquon, and our offensive line has been able to establish the run and protect our quarterback.
Have you gotten enough of a look at Bates and McGovern doing things at tackle that you'd be comfortable moving them there in an event of emergency?
Yeah, we got no choice. We got no choice. Bates hasn't really done it. He has this week, and it's looked pretty good in one-on-ones as well as team reps. McGovern obviously did it all spring, so there is some answers there, but we don't really have any choice.
But that's the plan rather than going to a prize.
Yes, sir. Yeah, at this point right now, you'd prefer not to have to do that. I think Will's the type of kid, he'll do whatever's in the best interest of the team, but you'd prefer not to at this point.
James, you guys released a statement yesterday that Brendan Mann was in the hospital. Is there any update on the status? Is he still there? Or
No.
No update or status?
There's no updates.
Okay.
Yeah, they actually wanted to put that in the statement about updates, but we're not doing updates, so no.
Well, I ask about Chaz. He performed pretty well in the versus Iowa. How has he, as a bigger guy, might struggle with speed? What have you seen from him in practice with speed as on the end?
The guy that we're excited about for the future, Shaka Toney, is quick and as fast as any end they're going to see. Him and Shane Simmons, those two guys really give our guys fits in practice. So they're prepared for that. Obviously we don't have somebody that has the combination of speed and size that you're typically going to see. Shane is getting there. I think Shane's about 242 pounds now, but Shaka is quick. Now he's undersized still at this point, but it's a great look for them guys in practice. Plus I think I've told you guys this before, we do a speed rush period where not only do O-line, D-line one-on-ones, but then something I believe in is we bring DBs, because you ask a tackle sometimes to block a corner who's blitzing off the edge, usually into the boundary on a corner fire, but if you never do that in practice. So we bring DBs and linebackers over to act like blitzers. They need to work on it, and our offensive linemen need to work on picking those guys up. So we do a speed rush period, so that helps as well, kind of a combination of those two things.
Do I recall that Chaz has an interesting nickname?
Bacon.
How did he get that nickname?
To be honest with you, I've never asked him. If I had to guess, he's probably eaten 14 pounds of bacon at a sitting, but I'm not sure. I haven't really asked. It's actually, I think they call him Big Bacon, which.
Coach, in 2014, Bill Belichick broke off a 92-yard touchdown run. That's a program record. I think Saquon can notch 93, 94 this week.
Yeah, that was a big-time run, at an important point in the game. There's no doubt about it, but. Saquon's a talented guy. I wouldn't say we necessarily have things in the game plan that we think we're going to get 93 yards on. Plus, we hope we're not starting at the 7-yard line to begin with. That's been a big thing for us all season long as field position. So hopefully, we're not in that position.
Big picture-wise, how do you think a team that's gone through adversity handles success differently than maybe a team that was successful from day one to the end?
I think young people in general, we have a young team, so it's magnified, but I think young just people in general, I think a lot of times handle adversity better than they handle success. As soon as you have some success and people are patting you on the back, you can become complacent and feel like you've arrived. I think it's human nature. So I think it's a challenge. I think a lot of the things that we do in our approach and our organization and our plan is to try to help with that by keeping our routine consistent, not changing for an in-state game, not changing for an out-of-conference game or in-conference game or what outsiders would deem as a big game. For us, each week is the Super Bowl. This is the most important game on the schedule because it's the next game on the schedule. So we try to keep that approach the same, and then I think that helps. The young guys know what to expect. The old guys give leadership. But yeah, I think that's a challenge. I think that's a challenge in general in college football, and I think it's also a challenge when you have maybe a team that has never experienced that before.
Looks like Saquon's Heisman campaign officially kind of started yesterday. How does that come about from a marketing standpoint? And I guess with that kind of on the table now, what does that do for the offensive line to know that goal is also kind of there and it's maybe more realistic than it was before?
Yeah, I don't know if I would necessarily call one graphic a campaign. I mean, it's a little early. I mean, one graphic. To be honest with you, again, if it was a campaign, there would have been a meeting where the marketing department would have sat down with the football administration and kind of gone through what they were thinking. It wasn't that. Lauren Damone and Mike Hazel and Lauren Schiffelbein, who's our graphic designer, does a great job. They put something together. It looked cool. Went along with, obviously the election. And we put it out, and then it was cool. But I wouldn't necessarily call it a campaign. I think his name is going to start coming up in some conversations and things like that, rightfully so. And that although it is looked at as an individual award, an individual honor, we don't look at it that way. The whole team has had an impact in Saquon's success, and when you have collective success, you're able to get some individual recognition at times. So that's nice.
Coach, that mentality you talk about, each game being the Super Bowl and keeping a team focused, at what point in your career did you learn that mentality and method works with younger players?
I think it's just, as I was an assistant working in a lot of different places and for a lot of different people, I saw changes in behavior and how coaches presented one game compared to the other, and it just kind of seemed different than I would do it. And I thought that kind of played in a part of some inconsistent results or inconsistent production and things like that. So I never thought you should do that. I never thought it should be personal. I never thought you should say this is a big game because then what are you telling them about the next game? So it just never seemed to align with what I believe. So just kind of one of those things that I wrote down. If I ever became a head coach, this would be the approach that we would take. And it's worked out pretty well for us.
Yeah, how do you feel that this group of players gravitates towards that mentality? Do you feel like they like using that same mentality as well?
I think like a lot of things in our program, I think our first 2 years we approached a lot of things different than what they had done in the past. And it was a lot of change in a short period of time. Now I think we're in a great position. I think the players have embraced it. It's always kind of neat as a head coach when you say things and then they go to press conferences and things and you hear them not saying it the same way but similar. And I think that's a positive sign. We want everybody in the building, our administrators, our trainers, our doctors, everybody kind of singing the same song and singing it in the same tune. Having that type of consistency I think is important. Everybody be on the same page.
Emotions were running very high last night after the election. Is that something you felt you have to step away from football and address with your team? Because you've often talked about it being more than just football. It's about kind of building young guys.
Yeah, we addressed it obviously before the election. We wanted to make sure our guys were active and voting in the first place, so we actually had somebody come over to the office to help get all our guys registered to make it easy for them. And then, obviously they could. I thought it was pretty cool. I went over to the union, and I think they were giving out free lunch, like hot dogs and chips to everybody that was voting, which is great, getting as many people involved as possible. I talk about kind of the process and the big picture, but I try to stay away from religion. Want to respect everybody's beliefs. That's about as far as we go with it. And then with politics, we want to be active in the process, but not getting into specifics. Because again, when you have 125 guys, you're gonna have a lot of different opinions, a lot of different backgrounds, and no different than anywhere else. You want to be careful getting into those subjects because it could create some angst.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.